Now, what if I told you that it is possible to greatly improve your vinyl playback experience with one simple addition? I'll give you a hint to what it is. No, actually, I'll give you two. It's not electronic, and it helps eliminate one of vinyl playback's enemies, that being vibrations. Do you know what this one addition is yet? Well, if you read the description of this video and cheated, you probably already know. So I'll just get right into it. It's this. This is the Delos isolation platform from Isoacoustics. Now, I wasn't sure what Delos meant, so I had to look it up, and apparently you can pronounce it as Delos or Delos, depending on your regional accent or where you're from. But Delos is a Greek island, but in Greek mythology, it was an island, but it floated around on the Aegean Sea, being tossed about until Poseidon anchored it to the ocean floor with 4 stone columns. Highly appropriate, if you ask me, if you consider what this product does for your audio equipment. In this case, what anchors the Delos isolation platform are 4 isolators from the Gaia series, which use Isoacoustics' patented design. These isolators absorb vibrations and prevent them from resonating through the supporting surface. The supporting surface is, at what first glance just looks to be, a big chunk of butcher block, and the one I have here is maple. It also comes in walnut, and they were chosen specifically for their aesthetic appearance, their hardness, and also their performance. And I know I just said performance when talking about a chunk of wood, but I'll get to that. But first, where can you use it? Well, under your turntable, of course, but you can also use it under your other components. And it's especially effective under tube components where vibrations can tend to be an issue. Microphonics really is an issue, and it is all about mechanical vibrations reaching the tubes. Now, you might not notice it depending on your tube's sensitivity to microphonics, but some tubes are more sensitive than others. Something like this would help greatly with that. Now, at the moment, I've been using this completely in my review room, where it's been used with a few different turntables. One was the Muara MT3, which I reviewed, fairly recently, to the new Orbit from U-Turn and a couple other turntables. I would absolutely love to use this under my Galleon TS120, but unfortunately the Galleon, which weighs about 70 pounds, is too heavy for it. At least it's too heavy for this Delos model because this one's rated for 65 pounds. This is the 1815 M1, which really just means it's 18 inches by 15 inches. I could have gone with the 2216 model, which can hold up to 100 pounds. But 2216 is actually a little bit too big for my main listening room, so I opted for the 1815. And I do have to admit, for the first time here on this channel, that I have my eyes on another tube amp. And if it does come to fruition and that ends up in my home, it's probably going to end up in my main listening room. It's lighter, so if that does occur, this Delos isolation platform will more than likely be sitting underneath it. Okay, so I mentioned performance, which I admit is a weird thing to say about an isolation platform, or about a piece of wood with isolators underneath it. But hear me out. Because this absorbs vibrations, it prevents them from reaching your stylus. And when you do that, when you do prevent unwanted vibrations from reaching your stylus, or when vibrations actually do reach your stylus, that's when things can get muddy. And that especially affects the bass and especially affects the mid-range. Eliminating those vibrations does wonders for the bass and the mid-range. Every object has a natural frequency at which it vibrates. So when, say, external vibrations match this frequency, the object resonates, potentially causing unwanted coloration of the sound. So in a turntable system, vibrations can create a feedback loop. The stylus picks up the vibrations from the record, which are then amplified. Now, if these amplified vibrations reach the turntable again through the air or even, say, a supporting surface like a cabinet, they can be re-amplified, causing distortion. And this is also particularly relevant for tube equipment. Vibrations can cause the internal elements of the vacuum tube to move, and that creates unwanted electrical signals that get amplified along with the music. And the Delos platform works partly through something called mass loading. Its substantial weight helps to dampen vibrations. However, unlike a simple heavy platform, the Isoacoustics design goes further with the Gaia isolators. They allow for a small amount of movement in a specific way, and this controlled deflection helps dissipate vibration energy rather than reflecting it back into the system. By effectively floating your equipment on these isolators, you're kind of decoupling it from the surface below, and that prevents vibrations from that surface from reaching your sensitive audio equipment. Reducing vibrations also has the added benefit of increasing the sound detail of the music. It's kind of like having a quality control knob that you can push up to 10 or maybe 11. Now, I'm not going to make some, nutty, crazy claims here, but this will improve your sound, especially, like I said, with the bass and mid-range. It's not going to make the bass more pronounced, but it will make the bass more defined. Now, I hate to use the expression of a veil being lifted, and I know a lot of people use that when describing, added components or, tweaking their system and talking about a veil being lifted between the listener and the sound source. But I guess it's overused because it's probably the best way to describe it. I noticed something similar when I moved my Thorns off of the cabinet it used to be on and put it on the Pangea wall shelf. It's a noticeable improvement. An excellent track for testing this out is Moby Dick by John Bonham or by Led Zeppelin on the album Zeppelin 2. I prefer the recent remastered version from Jimmy Page, but it really doesn't matter which one you use. Play that track without the platform and then play it again with the platform. I bet you'll hear it. To be honest, Led Zeppelin 2 is a great album for testing out things when you add a new component or tweak the system, especially Whole Lotta Love. Listen to that and listen to the instrument separation and on that particular song, on that track. And also, listen for the decay that follows Jimmy Page's guitar on, when he strikes it a certain way. Another great album to showcase the difference, if you can get your hands on it, is Miles Davis's Birth of Cool, particularly the track Godchild with Joe Schulman on bass. Again, try it both with and then without the platform to see what I mean. Now, do I have any complaints with this? Absolutely not. I mean, really, what is there to complain about other than the 2216 being too big and I had to go with the 1815? But if I really, really, really had to nitpick, I think I would make the Gaia isolators adjustable so you can adjust for height. So if you have an uneven surface, you have to find other ways to adjust for height. This will not allow you to do that. With the sound improvement you'll get, finding other ways to account for a slightly unlevel surface is well worth it. I can honestly see a future where I have one of these, if I can afford it, where I have one of these under all of my components. Now I want to turn it back to you. What tricks or purchases or even cool ideas have you done to help reduce vibration in your system and increase its performance? I'd love to hear from you and know what you've done. And I'm sure there are a lot of folks watching right now to this channel who would like to have some tips as well. And speaking of watching the channel, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I am so glad you're here. And until next time, take care of yourself and enjoy your records.